Hey guys, welcome back to my channel. It is Christian here. Thank you so much for joining me today. So today we are going to be doing another review, and we're going to be doing a review on the new Wet n Wild Holiday Limited Edition brush set. I believe this is limited edition. I could be wrong. This does come with 10 different brushes and it does retail for $30. So I have been putting this brush set to the test for about the last week to 10 days, I would say. And I have gotten my full thoughts, my opinions, and everything ready to go on this brush set. So if you're curious about this Wet n Wild brush set and you want to know if it is worth the money, if it's a good value, if there are good brushes, then you're definitely in the right place and you are for sure going to want to go ahead and keep on watching. But really quickly, before I get into the video, I just want to say that if you're new to my channel, welcome. Thank you so much for joining me today. If you do not mind, go ahead and hit the subscribe button down below before you head out. Subscribing to my channel just ensures that you do not miss any future upcoming videos. And if you are not new to my channel, you guys, welcome back. Thank you for continuing to join and support. And yeah, you guys, let's go ahead and get started on my review of the new Wet n Wild brushes. So this is the brush set right here. You do get 10 brushes. It does retail for $30. You do get 6 face brushes and 4 eye brushes. And this is what the packaging looks like. And on the back, you basically get the list of all of the different brushes. Now, like I mentioned in the intro, I have been using this brush set now for a good amount of time. I have played with the brushes. I have used all of the brushes in this kit except for one brush. There is one brush that I have not tested or used. And all in all, I'm just going to go ahead and spoil it for you right now. I think that this is a really good quality set of brushes, not just for the price, but just in general. I think that they are good quality. I definitely think it's worth the money. And I definitely think they are worth taking a look. I also want to note that I was on Trendmood's Instagram a couple days ago, and I did notice that these were going to be coming out in, I believe, rose gold. It was either rose gold or gold, but Trendmood had it listed as individual brushes that range in price from $8 to $6, whereas this entire kit was $30. So I want to say that they are the same brushes. You can correct me if I'm wrong, just in different color. So basically it's a sleeve that slides out like this, and you get your, I don't want to upset anybody. Is this iridescent or is this hollow, you guys? But the packaging is really fun. It's really nice. And then it opens up. It's just a box, and then it opens up, and then all of the brushes slide out. Now, all of the brushes are clean because I did want to wash them and test them out and see how they would wash and how they would dry. So even though they are clean and were in the box, I have been using them a ton. So really quickly, we are going to run down the list of all of the brushes that you get in here. I'm going to tell you right now, the only brush that I have not used is this guy right here. And I will explain why in just a second. The first brush that you're going to get in this set is actually an eye brush. And this is the Dome Tapered Blending Brush. The next brush that you're going to get in this set is the Tapered Blending Brush. Then you will get the Flat Contouring Brush. You will get a Precision Foundation Brush. You also will get a Large Powder Brush. You will get a Precision Setting Brush. You'll be getting a Blush Brush as well. A Tapered Highlighting Brush. A Fluffy Blending Brush. And then a Precision Flat Face Brush. So that is all 10 brushes that do come in the kit. So really quickly, before I get into my review, I'm going to go over a couple of important details about the set itself. So like I mentioned, 10 brushes for $30. It is also, this is a cruelty-free and vegan brush set. So for all of my cruelty-free girls and boys out there, this set will work for you. The brush hairs are going to be synthetic. And for the most part, I do like natural hair brushes, but I do a lot of times, especially for my face brushes, I do like them to be synthetic. So that's awesome. Another thing, and I don't know if you noticed, they say on the description that this is an ergonomical handle for control. So basically you can kind of put your finger right in there to give it a little bit more control. I actually have found myself actually using that and placing my finger right there. So I do think that it is in a conveniently located place. I don't know if that really makes a difference, but it is a nice feature. So one thing to note, like I mentioned, and you can kind of tell that some of the brushes have a little bit of staining on them because I just gave them a quick wash and dry before I wanted to film this video, so I can kind of let you know. They washed and dried really well. They held their shape, nothing shed after washing them, and like I mentioned, they went back into shape perfectly fine. The hairs are not scratchy. They are super soft. These brushes do not feel cheap. So there's 10 brushes in here for 30 bucks. So that's basically $3 a brush. This does not feel like a $3 brush. Here is one of my favorite Sephora brushes, and this brush retails for about $30+. This brush is $3. So you can see that they are very similarly shaped, and I honestly think that the Wet n Wild one is softer. Now, depending on what type of application you're using the brushes for, of course you would determine whether or not you would want a little bit of a softer brush or a little bit of a firmer brush. That's really important to note as well, because a lot of times when you get cheaper brushes, they feel cheap, they feel flimsy, they feel scratchy. These do not. Like, I found myself actually wanting to use these brushes. It's different to do something for review because you kind of feel like, okay, well, I need to review it. But like, it was enjoyable using these brushes. So we'll start with the foundation brush. I actually really like this foundation brush. I did not think I would based off of the shape, because if you know, I typically like flat top kabukis or like round top kabuki brushes. This is not really a brush that I typically would use. You can see it was a little bit harder to clean because of that divot in the middle, in the center, but I find that it allows me to spread my foundation evenly. It gets the jawline perfectly, so you don't forget the jawline area, because nobody wants lines of demarcation, and it blends the foundation really nicely. So I have been using this brush every day without hesitation, and I really like it. I was thoroughly impressed because I did not think that this was going to be a brush that I would reach for. The only brush in the kit, and I'm being 100% honest, I did not use the flat top contouring brush. I could have used it. I guess now that I'm thinking back filming this review, there are definitely ways I could have used it, but I very rarely contour, and when I do contour, I do prefer a little bit more of a circular brush, like something like this. I don't typically like the super structured contour, but now that I'm thinking about it, a lot of times on camera, like whenever I'm doing makeup for you guys, I will bake underneath where I applied bronzer if I got a little bit heavy, or if I do want like a more sculpted contour type look. I could have used this to apply the powder. That would have worked perfectly. Or, you know, you start seeing a lot of people now will start putting the translucent powder off to the side. This would work great for that, but I did not think about that at the time. I was just kind of like, I don't contour, so why would I use that brush? And of course, brushes can be used any way. Just because they're labeled one thing doesn't mean that you have to use them that way. Like that precision powder brush that I have from Sephora, I use it as a bronzer brush. So my next favorite brush in the kit, a brush that I actually really like, is the highlighting brush. I tend to use very large highlighting brushes. So I use this one, and then I use another one from Sigma that is similarly shaped. And these are pretty big. They have a lot of fibers. They have give, they're soft, but this brush, it's almost a little bit more flimsy. I don't know if you guys could tell the difference, and it's smaller. So the highlight goes exactly where you want it to go, and then you can just buff it in super easy. I have been loving this brush for a highlighting brush. I've been using the same highlighting brushes forever, but this one has quickly become not just my favorite in this kit, but actually a favorite highlighting brush. And then, I mean, if you don't want to use it for highlighting, you can even use this to get really close to the under eye to kind of set your concealer into place. It would also work really well for that. Okay, so the only other brush in here that I didn't really care for this brush. Now, this is the Precision Flat Brush. Now, it works. So basically what I would use it for is concealer. I think it's a little bit oddly shaped, and I think it's a little weird of a brush. I feel like this brush you definitely could have done without, and there are a couple of brushes that I might have liked to see in place of this particular brush that I will kind of mention in just a second. But I mean, it works. It gets the job done, and you could even use this if you wanted to get a really fine contour with like cream product. This would work really great for that as well. It just wasn't my favorite brush in the kit. So surprisingly, the eye brushes are really nice. Coming from somebody who has a lot of MAC brushes and who was oh, this is not an eye brush. Hold on, let me get the eye brush. Coming from somebody who 2 months ago was swearing by the Wayne Goss eye brushes, which don't get me wrong, I still love the Wayne Goss eye brushes, and I do think that the Wayne Goss eye brushes are better quality, but those are also natural haired brushes. These brushes are nice. I found myself trying to do complete eye looks out of this kit, and I could, but I didn't, if that makes sense. Like, you definitely could get a complete eye look just using these 3 brushes. But I tend to like to go in and do a little bit more detailing on the outer corner, lower lash line, and things like that. And because I have hooded eyes, I definitely like to go in with a little bit of a smaller brush in my crease. So I found myself reaching for the MAC 221 a ton. But I tried to limit the use of other brushes while I was testing out this kit. So the first day I did get a full look. So I went in with the Fluffy Blending Brush, which is this guy right here, which blends product really nicely. And then this is going to be similar to like your MAC 217. The tapered blending brush, which is going to be similar to more of like your MAC 217. And then I would apply that color in the crease along the outer corner. I would smudge it on the lower lash line. And then for a little bit more detail work, I would go in with the pencil brush to apply any extra colors to smoke out the lower lash line. Then I would take the tapered blending brush, and then I would kind of flip it on the side, and that's how I would apply my lid shade. So it works. You definitely can get a complete eye look out of here, but I definitely wish that instead of this brush right here, I definitely would have liked to see another eye brush, maybe a MAC 217, or maybe, well, not a MAC 217, but a brush that's going to be similar to like the MAC 242, a flat shader brush, or even a brush similar to the 221. I think that I definitely would have benefited a little bit more from that because I don't really use this brush a lot. So I think that that would have been a huge, like that would have definitely made the kit even more universal and even more a knockout of the park if we had seen one more eye brush in here, one of the two mentioned. So the last three brushes that I'm going to talk about really quickly is the powder brush, which I've already showed you compared to some of my other powder brushes. This is a really nice powder brush. It's soft. It really nicely buffs in your product. It'll give you a light dusting of any product, any type of powder that you want applied onto your face. Again, I even use brushes like this for bronzer as well, but while I was testing out this particular kit, I specifically used it for powder, and I would even kind of get it right underneath my under eyes a little bit as well, because I typically use brushes like this, or even the Kat Von D Shade and Eye brush like this to kind of set my under eye. And there wasn't anything quite like that in this particular kit, but this is a really, really soft, really good powder brush. So these two brushes are not typically brushes that I reach for. So this is what they call the precision setting brush, and this is the blush brush. So for my blush brushes, I typically like them to be angled. Usually I prefer my blush brushes to be angled like this, or I like this little duo fiber guy right here that I use every single day. These are typically the type of blush brushes that I will reach for. So this wasn't my absolute favorite brush for blush, because I feel like when I use brushes like this, sometimes it'll apply way too much product, but it actually surprisingly did work. I used this brush for both bronzer and blush, and I didn't really have a lot of problems with it. I would just kind of buff it into the skin super, super lightly. I would not pick up a lot of product, and then I would just kind of brush it over to the skin. Over my skin, typically you can hit your apples of your cheekbones super easily, but I'm not really the type of person who likes to apply a lot of blush on the apples of my cheekbones, which is why I tend to prefer the other two brushes that I just previously showed for blush. Because those are nicer for just like a light sweep of product over the cheekbones. And this one is going to put a little bit more product down, but it still works. It blends out really easily, and it's all in all a really nice brush. I probably will personally use this for some type, probably more for bronzer than anything else. And then the last brush is, if I was going to rank them, the contouring brush, precision flat face brush, and then this one would be my next least favorite out of the kit. This one was the precision setting brush. So basically that kind of, to me, kind of leads me to believe that I'm supposed to use it kind of to set my under eye powder. It definitely does work. It's just not my favorite brush in the kit. I like the other seven brushes more than this guy. Now, precision setting brush kind of leads me to believe that this is something that you're going to want to use for underneath the eye, and it does work. It is small enough. It really will fit nicely underneath the eye. You could use it to dust away any of your bake as well. You can even use this brush to contour. It is the right shape to contour. So let me pull out. It's a little bit fluffier than contouring brushes that I will typically use, but it will work for oops, I dropped it. Give you more of a diffuse contour, because you can place the product and then you could also buff it out with this particular brush as well. So that is all 10 brushes and kind of the rundown of how I feel about the brushes. I like this kit. I think it's really, really good. I definitely hope that Wet n Wild comes out with more brushes to this standard, because I've tried the other brushes that they had that have the little pink handle, and I do think that those are pretty good for the price, but I think that these are even better. Like, I think that these brushes are just good. Forget about price. They're just good brushes. So I definitely think that you should head over to your local Walgreens. To my knowledge, this is a Walgreens exclusive. I'm not sure if it's going to launch anywhere else or be sold anywhere else, but I definitely think you should head over to your local Walgreens. I definitely think that these are some brushes that are be really good. I definitely think that beginners would like these brushes. I definitely think that people who have a ton of experience with makeup would think that these are pretty good brushes as well. So this is another holiday kit that gets 2 thumbs up for me that I actually think is great quality after I've tested it out for the last week. And I do not think that you would be sorry if you pick these brushes up. So yeah, you guys, that is pretty much it for this review. I really hope that you did enjoy this video. If you did, don't forget to give it a thumbs up. Don't forget to subscribe down below, and I will see you in the next video. Bye guys!